Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? I think we are. There's a bunch of people in the comment section already. We love it. We love to see that. A lot of people hopefully joining the stream soon. Can we hear me? And are we live? I need you guys to confirm in the comments if we're live. Some usual suspects already. We got our boy Dime Season. We got Cranman, Christopher. We live. Thank you for confirming that, Justin Carpenter. Oh my God, Shark Week! You just derailed my whole little thing there. Great to see you in the chat, buddy. Gotta hit up the old fat cactus soon. The Devils defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2. A terrible first period. That was saved by Jacob Markstrom. A terrible first period that they end up winning, or sorry, still winning 1-0. And then they turn it around in that second period. Let's all breathe a sigh of relief for a second for Jacob. I almost said Jacob Markstrom. Jake Allen having only having cramps. I thought this was going to be a much worse injury because you don't leave a game like that if it's unless it's something else. That was my thought process initially. Turns out it's just cramps. I missed a little bit of a good chunk of the third period there because it was just texting around people to see if anyone knew anything about what was going on with this injury. But it ends up being just cramps. We'll hear more. I'm going to be, half listening in to the press conference here as well to see what Sheldon Keefe has to say about the injury. But we're live. Welcome in everybody. Speaking of the Devils, I think this is it. Yeah, this is the third episode, third live stream of the regular season here. Devils are 2-1-0 after defeating the Columbus Blue Jackets, as mentioned. Let's get through the guys who scored the goals today. It was Teemo Meer and then Dawson Mercer twice. Oh my goodness, Dawson Mercer coming to life. I think he's had a pretty darn good season so far. Pretty quiet first game, came to life the second game, and then this game being rewarded for, just by the score sheet there. So let's kind of break into the comment section here because I think the comment section is already pretty active. Okay, so we'll start here with our man Kyle Z2233. Kyle says, winner of special teams typically win the game. Nice win. Absolutely. I mean, the Devils special teams certainly came to life tonight. What was that penalty kill tonight? I think it was 5 for 5 on the PK tonight. That came to life. And let me just note, their penalty kill has been pretty tenacious all season, all season. It's been 3 games. Through these 3 games so far, blocking a lot of shots, and really putting their whole body into it. I mean, I feel like Brett Pesce in that regard has been really strong player. But the power play came to life tonight, man. I want to see the exact percentage. They went 2 for 2 on the power play, and I think both guys that were involved in the changes on the power play got rewarded, right? In Dawson Mercer and Teemo Meer there. Teemo Meer, I mean, we should just talk about that. We'll kind of lead off with that goal because it was the first one that came. That first power play finally to strike the way that it did after being lifeless in the first few games here, and for Keefe to make those adjustments was obviously the right ones that needed to be made. So it was Teemo and Dougie on the first unit. Teemo immediately makes it worthwhile, waning seconds of that first power play that they had. And to me, that's what happens when you put Teemo Meer on that right flank there. He can shoot it from there. He can make these tough shots from there. And Teemo Meer gets it done. And Jesper Bratt really set that up with a great feed across the slot there. And I like the way that the power play rotated too. You had Nico and Dougie were the 2 constants, right? Nico was the net front guy. Dougie, of course, the power play quarterback and the guy that can shoot it if need be. But then the rest are just rotating, right? Rotating through the flanks. Rotating in the bumper. I really like the way that it was set up, and the fact, look, moving Luke down to the power play too. Yes, like I think a lot of people, Jack included, want him to be on the first power play. He's got some time to grow into that. You know what I mean? Like he's got 7 years here. So take advantage of Dougie while he's still on your team. Let's be honest with this. Or let's face it, right? Like that's just the fact of the matter right now. Maybe Dougie has a good enough season to where he can make a case for staying on the team. Um, let's keep going with some of these comments here. I'm just I lost my mouse here. Okay, Markstrom better be okay. I think he probably will end up being okay. But you never know with goalie his age, 35, 36 years old. I think he is. But I think that the Devils releasing that it's cramps. I think that it's going to end up being just that. Although we've seen, I think Devils fans are a little scarred from past injuries that have started as, oh, we'll be out day to day, and then ends up being out for the season. I've heard Devils fans talk about that in my mentions once or twice in my life. Let's see. Okay, just lots of Markstrom comments here. We're live. We're live. Okay, I'm really behind on the comments today because I just wanted to talk about the power play, guys. Don't blame me. The fact that we okay, and Easy says Markey looked super awkward at the end there. Yeah, that was eye opening as well. So I mean, look, the injury bug is alive and well, guys. Well, I'm gonna read just a list of names that are injured. If Allen's injury ended up being worse than it was revealed to be, then I was going to lead the show with just revealing the list of names that my man Josh Langer on Twitter he released it earlier today, and just compiled the list of all these Devils injuries that they have right now. So we'll go through it right now. Kovacevic with the knee, Nason with the groin, Seamus Casey with the lower body injury, whatever the heck that means. Dadanov with the fractured hand. McLaughlin with the undisclosed injury. We all got a whole bunch of undisclosed now. Okay, we got Lamico with the undisclosed, McEwen with the undisclosed, and now Jake Allen and potentially Jacob Markstrom, who again went off awkward, as was noted in the comments there at the end. And as Joe Battiato, Battiato. I hope I read that right. Notes right here. Looked like he jammed something, stayed in, so hopefully nothing crazy. Agreed. But you can never be too cautious with the injury bug being as rampant as it is right now. Greg Hughes, the great Greg Hughes, he sits here and he says that complete team victory. Agreed, man. Look, Devils got off to a pretty rough start, and then they had on the backs of Mark. The Devils need to play better in front of Markstrom. Markstrom. I keep messing up these two Jakes in front of Allen. They need to play better in front of Allen, and reward him for these that great first period and that great first two periods that he had. We'll dive into the numbers in a second, but. Team turned it on at 5-on-5. They tilted the ice towards their end in the second period, and things were gelling. Penalty kill was huge tonight. I mean, started off. I think momentum started to swing after Dougie got that high sticking on Miles Wood, who left the game, and they killed off that 4-minute double minor, and things started rolling for the Devils after that. They carried that momentum of such a good penalty kill performance and such a strong showing from Jacob Allen. Why do I keep doing that? And they rode that to a win today. So yeah, definitely a strong team effort. All right, let's see. Just a bunch of people exchanging pleasantries. Dime season and Shark Week. Hello. He toughed it out. Winner of special teams wins the game. Absolutely. Dawes and Malik, welcome to New Jersey. Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, look, we already have the injury bug biting this team all up and down the lineup. It'll be interesting to see if we have to, if the Devils have to call up, some other goalies as well. Greg Hughes says, Alan cramps. Where is the pickle juice? Yeah, man. I keep seeing a lot of comments that talk about Blake Coleman, who I think was nicknamed Pickles for the Devils, right? Talking about get him back, and and have him provide his pickle juice. Great for hydration. I said to have some body armor in honor of the Giants Nation show. A great sponsor for them. Basic guy, the king of the chat, basic guy says, "Big W for that win, another gutsy win, another Teemo goal, and the best thing last, another Grits point. Let's talk about Marchenko Gritsuk, guys. I'm gonna go to my notes over here. This guy, and we'll just start off the cuff. I mean, that feed to Mercer. Okay, it comes. I thought that I was going to be impressed. I mentioned this in the last stream, but I thought I was going to be most impressed with this guy's shot. No, 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 no. Through 3 games, I have been none more impressed with Arseny Gritsuk's ability to feed the puck. I mean, this guy, he's patient. He slices it through 2 defenders there off the rush and gets it to Mercer, who just with the excellent underrated one timer that Mercer has there. I thought that was just a really impressive sequence all around. Um, Again, with Gritsuk, he's patient. He's always surveying his options. He's finding the open lanes. He's finding lanes where it'll set his teammates up for the best possible thing. And again, that goal was the key goal. That was it's not the dagger, but it was obviously the go ahead one, and they never gave the lead back after that. Um, and it came at the perfect timing. It came right, if you guys remember, it came right after that really, really brutal Jack giveaway that he had there, which again, we'll dive into Jack in kind of a second here. I just thought it was awesome stuff. Look, I wrote it today. I published it on nj.com/devils. Be sure you go check out our print work there too. Gritsuk at some point is going to have to get a look in the top 6, right? He just is. I talked to people during preseason, even after his first preseason game, and a bunch of people across the league and in that Devils building, just saying that they would be shocked if his opportunity came later in the season rather than sooner. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't really change things after a win, of course, but you just wonder to see maybe that because I don't think that Jack Bratt and Palat line had great numbers tonight, and just eye test wise, it didn't look great at all. Um, so I wonder if we start to see potentially Arseny Gritsuk get a look there in the top 6. I'm just pulling up these Jack. Yeah, brutal numbers for this Jack Palat and Jesper Bratt line tonight. They had in terms of shot attempts, they were at a disadvantage, 8 to 12. In terms of just 5-on-5 shots, just shots on goal, 2 to 5. Expected goals, 4 percentage. If you like that, if you like the advanced metrics, I know some people don't. But they had a brutal, almost a team low, 19.63. They just edged out the Hallinan, Glendening, Paul Cotter line. That's not what you want to see. Your Jack Hughes line, your line with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt needs to be your advantage. Okay, so make it your advantage. Get the guy who has the highest possible ceiling up there. Give him at least a look. Just see if it works or not. And maybe, later down the line, it does end up working. But I think Gritsuk is playing his way up there. Yes, he has great chemistry with Connor Brown and Cody Glass, and I think that line has been a big plus here at the beginning of the year. There's no doubt, and you don't want to break up a hot thing, but if you can break up a hot thing and get it to be in your top 6 again with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, and you could see what this guy can do. Not only with those guys dishing him the puck, but him dishing them the puck. I think that could be a really good thing. Just a good marriage. I think it would be good all along. Maybe he's the top 6 wing that Devils fans have been clamoring for this entire offseason, which is what I wrote today. Let's see. Okay. Markstrom clearly hurting. A lot of people just saying Markstrom clearly hurting. Big win. Christopher says big win. Power play was the difference. And goaltending was great. Watching MSG post game, so I will watch replay tomorrow morning. Good night, all. Christopher, there you go, man. Thanks for tuning in. Duck Gusev, the man. Okay, don't get this guy counting, because once he starts counting to 100, sorry, to 99, he will give you a Devils jersey number for every single Devils player. He'll give you the most obscure things. Like if you ask him for, like if you ask him, oh, who's number 30? He won't give you Brodeur. He'll give you the most obscure devil ever. So shout out Duck Duck Gusev, who says, I think we'll be seeing Nico Dawes sooner than later. Yeah, potentially. I mean, I guess, Markstrom at the end there definitely did not look great. And then, Jake Allen going out with cramps is never a good sign. I'm very curious to see what ends up being of that. Um, David Piccolo here says cramps mean he's out. Cramps mean he's out 4 to 6 weeks, knowing our luck. Okay, there you go. So Devils fans obviously very scarred from their past injury luck or lack thereof. Cranman here, another king of the chat, someone who's always in here. Teemo Tober. Teemo Tober. Guys, I want to, again, I think this also needs a spotlight on this episode. Teemo Meer, this is a guy that always seems to get out to a slow. Here's what always happens. Okay, from my experience covering Teemo, and again, it was the half year for the first season, and then it ended up being at the first half of my second season covering the Devils. I feel like it's always the same cycle that repeats itself. Teemo Meer gets out to a slow start. And then by game 4, I'm already having, he'll either get benched. I remember Lindy benched him against Florida a couple of years ago. And then I'm having to ask and have this really awkward, one-on-one interview with Teemo Meer where it's like, hey, basically what's with this cold start? And then you dive into the numbers and you see, even going back to San Jose, he just has never been really a fast starter. I think he got off to a semi-fast start last year. But never has really been a fast starter, that Teemo Meer. So this year is a breath of fresh air for him, because I feel like he always turns it on after them, but March is when he goes nuclear, right? Like that's always the big thing. It's like Teemo time is the month of March, right? For him to turn it on in the month of October is going to be huge for these Devils because, again, as I mentioned before, which we'll dive into because I'm sure the commenters have brought it up. Jack Hughes still doesn't look really 100%. Jack Hughes still needs to turn it on. We still haven't seen healthy Jack Hughes. So the reason the Devils are 2-1-0 right now, is in large part because of Teemo Meer, right? So they're going to continue having this kind of success if Teemo is who he is in March. In October would be such a huge thing. And then when Jack Hughes gets back to 100% health, this top 6 is just going to look a lot better than it already is. And I think it's looking fine so far. I think they need some help. They're desperate, for getting some of these, supplementary pieces back, like a Stefan Nason. And obviously Dadanov is out and he'll be out for a while too. But I really like what we're seeing from Teemo Meer. I like what we're seeing for that whole line, honestly. Like Dawson Mercer has looked fine and has looked good in the top 6. He's certainly earned his. There were some questions at the beginning of the season. Is it? Does he, has he earned a spot up there, because of that awful last season, that nightmarish last season that he had? But Dawson Mercer, I think, has been a real revelation here thus far. And he's always been a guy that's been a good pairing with Nico Hischier. So very curious to see if that line can continue being hot. Let's keep going with these comments. I'm gonna skip all because everyone's talking about the Markstrom stuff. I'm gonna really skip over a bunch of these. Shark Week says credit to Keefe on those tweaks. Completely agreed, man. Look, the tweaks that he made in the power play, the proof was in the pudding. Every change that he made ended up working tonight. The only thing that was missing, I think, is a Dougie Hamilton goal, but I think that he'll settle for getting Teemo that goal right there, which again was set up by Jesper Bratt. I've always said Teemo Meer, you have this guy that is almost to me a perfect power play player, right? Like there was no reason for him not to be on that first power play and for him to be on that right flank, especially. I just think it's so perfect for him. He shoots so well from there. He's nasty. People always talk about Meyer's nastiness and he's certainly a gritty player. He's the beef in that top 6, and he's the Devil's muscle at points. But I feel like we got to give Teemo, his flowers for his shot too. So I wonder this year. I've always said people always talk about there's always those weird days on Devil's Twitter where it's like, oh, Teemo Meer sucks. He needs to have a better season, like put up more numbers, and that's fine. I completely agree. But I think I still consider the Teemo trade to be a massive win. I still consider that Teemo extension to be a massive win, and I think Teemo Meyer's value comes in spurts pretty much. But for him to put on if he can continue this hot start that he's having and put up, say, a 60-point year, maybe coming in and even flirt with that 70-point range, put up 30, 40 goals or something like that, he'll finally get his flowers when he finally starts putting up the numbers, and it's obviously trending in a positive direction there right now. But putting him on that power play one, I think is going to be bode well for the Devils. Again, a lot of Markstrom stuff. Jay makes an interesting point here. I think Gritsuk needs to stay on the third line. It gives us depth. Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting point. I like that, and again, that the chemistry that he's built with those guys down there. Glass again bringing that kind of defensive edge there. Brown bringing a little bit of the sandpaper a little bit, and just like he's had that finishing touch too, which I don't think he's necessarily had too much in Edmonton and in past stops. But his chemistry with Gritsuk has been awesome. Obviously, looked great against the Lightning the other day when Gritsuk dished the puck to him twice. But definitely an interesting point there. That you maybe the key to Gritsuk's success is keeping him in that bottom six so that you can have depth spread out throughout the lineup. So definitely an interesting point there from Jay. Cranman says, would love to be able to listen to the next morning in a podcast and when I can't make live streams. Guys, so the podcast thing, I just want to touch on that real quick because I that's been the number one question, right? And I don't shy away from questions. I'll ask the questions, so I will certainly not shy away from them. It's in the talks right now. That's above my pay grade. I will be honest with you. And we'll, I'll just leave it at that. It's in the talks right now, and we'll have an announcement in the coming weeks to see if there are any updates there. Let's continue. Greg Hughes again. Jack was bad tonight. A rare off night for him. Hope to see a bounce back on Thursday. I forget who said it. There was a tweet that I saw out there as I pulled Twitter back up just to see if there's any sort of updates from Keith from the post game presser. I saw somebody tweet out that there are just some nights where Jack is just not Jack, and sometimes you have to chalk that up to he's just not Jack tonight, right? Like there's just some of those nights he has. Tonight was certainly one of those nights where it was noticeable, right? And shining a spotlight on that brutal, brutal giveaway that he had at the blue line there to Marchenko. That's the Jack giveth, Jack taketh away stuff, man. He's an incredible player. He is a superstar of superstars. He's awesome. There's no better. He's the best player I've ever covered on a team. But that's kind of the bad of Jack Hughes is when he tries to get a little too fancy, and that's kind of a Luke thing too. When he tries to get a little too fancy at the blue line, it just becomes problematic in spots, right? Jack hasn't really looked like himself yet, and look, there was a nice little stretch he had there in the second. I actually I have a note up here in my beginning of my second period notes where I just say I want to see a Jack Hughes goal soon. I'm not concerned, but I just want to see it, right? And then right after that, he started to pick it up a little bit. He had a nice two-play sequence. He blocked a scoring chance, then a high danger chance by just putting his stick in the way. But that was just kind of me parsing through to find the positives. We need to see Jack Hughes find his legs a little bit after this surgery, and really try to turn it on, start putting up these points that we know he's capable of. And I think Jack Hughes, once he picks it up, he kind of goes in these spurts as well. Where post injury might be hit a bit of a lull, but there's reason, I can understand why through 3 games, and especially this game leaves a sour taste in your mouth, why you'd be, so lowercase c concerned about Jack. I think he's going to pick it up though. He's one of those guys that can be, that when he turns it on, you'll just know that it's on, right? All right, let's see. Jay says Jack is a penchant for turning the puck over in traffic. Exactly what I just said. Totally agreed, man. Let's see. Gosh, a lot of comments tonight, guys. We love it. Let's see. when you start getting worried about these Jack turnovers that keep happening more and more. He does look like he's avoiding being around the boards. Um, th- to me, it's just one of those things with the turnovers that you just have to live with if you have one of these star players. I mentioned this on one of the streams before, but when you see the top, you look up, go to StatMuse right now and say 2024, last season, 2024, 25 giveaway leaders, right? Like the guys who turn the puck over the most. The top names, I guarantee you, I haven't looked yet, but the top names are going to be McKinnon. It's going to be I'm sure McDavid's up there, although he's a freak, so maybe maybe not. But it's going to be the superstars in the league that because they're the superstars, and you want to you rely on them to enter through this. You rely on them for zone entries, right? You rely on them to drive your offense at times, to be your force in the offensive zone. You kind of just have to live with a high amount of giveaways. I can understand why there's concerns, and some of those plays are just head scratching. Like the one at the end of the Carolina game. I think a lot of people talk bad that in the chat the other day, and then this one today was just so obvious, man. I mean, that was bad. I mean, but I will say, and the fact that it led to a goal made it even worse. But again, I will say that once this team gets Jack Hughes at 100%, and he will be 100%, and I think it will come on soon. Um, I think that if you're seeing really bright spots right now, and I think we are, get ready for Jack Hughes to be in this top six. That's all I gotta say to that. Let's see. Scooby Snacks Thompson, Gritsuk more than an ozone player. Absolutely, man. Do you like he wins board battles too. I mean, this is a guy that he's not afraid to kind of get into the nasty areas a little bit too. When Tom Fitzgerald sits there at the opening press conference and he says that he's, thicker than he, kind of envisioned, it's this kind of play style that he envisioned. I mean, he is exactly what you'd want, and I really kind of like that he hasn't really like shown off it and showcased that shot too much yet too, because he's almost proving to the coaching staff, hey, you know there are the scouting report on me is that I'm a great shooter, okay, and his shot is good. We saw that in the preseason. I'm going to show you that I can do everything else, right? I'm going to show you that I can do all the other little things too, like winning those board battles, like dishing the puck, like dishing it through two defenders to Dawson Mercer there. And I'm going to show you that I can do that. And oh, by the way, the scoring is going to come too, because that doesn't just go away, right? Like I think that's the one thing that can translate more than most things, because that's what you have to do. You have to prove that you can do those other things when you get to the NHL. He's proving that right now, and I think that's a really positive sign. And it's a thing of maturity too, dude. Like that is like that's the sign of somebody that he gets it. I mean, Gritsu gets it, man. So that I really like that. Uh Slippin' Jimmy Nichols from the NJ Hockey Now YouTube show. He said Jack Heischer is my favorite player. I must have misspoke at some point, or but Nichols is from Staten Island. I don't know that the education's the highest there. No offense to you, Staten Island folk, but Nichols, I'm sure, has messed up a player's name or two in the past as well. Okay, we go to Nico right here. I don't know if this is false hope, but do you think Grits can win Calder? If he keeps playing like this, he'll be in the conversation. He'll definitely get votes. That's all I got to say. So this there's going to be a lot of names up there. There's Demidov. Um, I'm blanking right now, but yeah, there. Listen, I think there's going to be a lot of people vying for it. Obviously, Gritsuk will certainly, if he keeps playing like this, and if he gets elevated to that top six, I think he'll certainly have a chance. Justin Carpenter says Grits is going to want money next year. Heck yeah, he is, man. That's what you do if you play. If you're a good player, then you certainly will demand that contract. Let's see. Obi-Wan Cannoli 13 says, but I was told he was sad because he ate ramen alone. God, what a silly storyline that was today. I mean, the fact that I am having to spend my afternoon texting around trying to figure out what the exact, what should I say? The exact, like how the Devils have prepared Arseny Gritsuk for his time in America is just a ridiculous way to spend my afternoon. So yeah, that's a funny comment there, Obi-Wan Kenoly. Um, Coming home 2-1 start to season, we'll take that absolutely. Dan Grimes. Tell you what, man. Like they're coming into that Florida game with momentum. I'm excited for that home opener. If you see me, say hi. That would be a blast. And I'd love to see some of you there. But yeah, these they're definitely coming in with momentum. That's for sure. So we'll see what they can do against a depleted Florida team, who I think is actually doing pretty well to start the season. So we'll see. Let's see. Cranman says Grits was 50-1 odds on Calder FanDuel before the game. Maybe that'll go up even more so. Peter Azarian says Heischer line carried. No doubt, man. That was a really, really good line tonight. They certainly earned all the praise that they're getting, which I've seen a lot of online. A bigger built team like CBJ will give Jack, Bratt, and Plot a problem. Yeah, Benjamin Resch points that out. I agree. And it's interesting too. I think that I don't think I'm going to go back to game one. I don't think the Hurricanes are an overly physical team. I don't, but I think they played Jack as tough and as physically as possible to kind of shut him down. And this team, like you said, a bigger built team like the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the way they're built up into their lineup, I think they can certainly give Jack his fair share of issues. So that's a good point there. Let's see. Scooby Snacks Thompson says, "Gotta hope Palat gets some cheap points from Jack Brad. Raise that sweet, sweet trade value." Yeah, man. I mean, I could say the same thing about Dougie on Power Play One, right? Raise that trade value, I guess. If that's the direction the Devils want to go in, we'll see. Like maybe maybe Dougie plays his way into a situation. It would almost remind me like a. This would be a super version of remember Damon Severson, who the Devils faced tonight. At the trade deadline 22-23, it was like a question of they could trade him. He's an expiring contract. Dougie's not an expiring contract, but it's one of those things where everybody thinks that they're going to trade him. Maybe Dougie can play, and Severson did it. Severson played his way to remain on the team. Maybe Dougie can play his way to remain on the team as well. So we'll see what exactly happens there. Let's see, moving on here. Gosh, okay. Aiden Reed says Teemo gets put on PP1 and immediately starts scoring. Shocking. Yes, absolutely. Stan McCune. I remember Stan from the old Giants days. Stan, a loyal follower, I believe. So I appreciate you, man. We do not mention Mr. Ruff in this chat, is what Stan said. So there you go, I guess. And Lindy, I'll tell you what, Lindy's team is not doing too well. I saw that Bryce and Rachel. There was a clip there that they were talking about the Sabres on the broadcast, and I think after the Lightning game, and Sabres Twitter was kind of clipping it around and showing around just pretty funny stuff. So I think they said they beat a good team. They didn't beat like a Buffalo. So it was Sabres Twitter was having a field day with that. But funny stuff happening, or bad stuff happening over there in Buffalo. So eager to see what the Devils can do against them this year. Shadow Voltroon says, "I'm convinced Lindy had no idea how to use Meyer properly. Has been better since Keith came in." Again, I gave Teemo every opportunity a few years ago when he started to really turn it on after after Lindy was let go. I gave him every opportunity to say that, it's because I healed from my injuries to that's the reason I boomed, and Teemo instead said that it was because of a new system and things like that. So I don't know if maybe there's some truth there, but again, I gave Timo every opportunity to say that, but that was 2 years ago. So we'll keep going on. Let's see. Alex Campbell says Brown took that playoff vet culture slot. Palat is just there for the vibes now. Yeah, I mean, listen, Brown was one of the more underrated signings of the offseason. I think right now it's been a big W for the New Jersey Devils, just 3 games in, obviously. But the fact that he had 2 goals last game, the fact that he's developed such a good chemistry with their young player in Arseny Gritsuk and has been a big key for him having a boom there has been very, very good. Let's talk about that line for a second. that line is pieced together. It's kind of underrated in a sense. A free agent signing, probably their I would say their top free agent signing in Connor Brown. Then you have Cody Glass centering it. Oh my gosh, I just burped. That's one of their that's their big free agent re-signing. That was kind of like they didn't qualify, they didn't tender his RFA, so it was kind of a risk there, but they end up getting a deal done. And then it's then on the left wing there you have Mercer and Gritsuk, who they brought over this year. So three new acquisitions of the Devils already having a major impact, and that's some really good signs there. Let's see. Um, Okay. Alex Campbell just mentioned that too. He's wild that we nearly didn't qualify Glass. Honestly, yeah, I wasn't around for that, but I do remember that being kind of a storyline. Um, Benjamin Resch says only bright side of injuries. We let the young guys play and see if they could be used for trades. I want to see I want Brian Hallinan to prove to prove to Keith, do not send me down. Have one of those kind of games. I didn't notice him too much tonight, but have one of those kind of games, and maybe he can you know uh, uh, keep his way on this NHL roster here. Um, let's see, Cranman 85. One of again, him and Basic are like the kings of the chat. I always see these guys active. I love these guys. Um, he says Ryan, right on Ryan. A lot of elite players have giveaways. Yep, going back to the Jack conversation. Kucherov was sixth most, McKinnon seventh, Pasternak 12th, and that was from Money Puck. Gerald York, let's go Novo. Jay, great stuff, Novo. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, gonna keep going. Gerald York, Gritsuk's board battles are really encouraging. Completely agreed, man. Completely agreed. It's again the sign of a maturing player, the sign of a player that gets it immediately. Someone that's not just a shot first, you know, Alexander Holtz kind of guy. Um, he's someone that's showing maturity with winning these board battles, and just being able to dish the puck, man. So once he gets that scoring touch, which I'm very excited to see, that's gonna be very interesting. All right, let's see. I guess let's see. Sorry, 1 second. I just lost my train of thought there. Oh, Duck Gusev. All I'm saying is 81 to 91 has tickled my weird number loving brain. Again, Duck Gusev on Twitter at Duck Gusev. This is a guy that if you ask him from numbers 1 to 97, he will be able. You just send him a random number. I want everyone to tweet at Duck Gusev. Send him a random number. He'll be able to tell you the most obscure Devils player who wore that number. Okay, so and I should mention too. I mentioned Twitter. Follow me too at Ryan Novo NHL for all the latest Devils updates, and be sure to like and subscribe here to Speaking of the Devils. If you guys could, and I wouldn't be opposed to this, if you guys are still loyal, still in the chat right now, if you guys want to share the link out there on your personal Twitter X accounts, I would really appreciate that, and helping you guys be helping us spread the word of the show, which we're really excited about this year. We're gonna have a lot of fun in these streams this year. I can just tell. Um, Andrew, it's either an I or an L. I think it's an I. Andrew I says the real test is seeing if we can win 4 in a row. Agreed, man. I was following that last season. I saw that the Devils really struggled winning 4 games in a row. So that's going to be the major test. If the Devils do that, maybe more people will start buying into my prediction, which is that the Devils are going to win the Eastern Conference this year. We will see what happens. Okay. Shaba says, I don't think Hallinan should be in the lineup. Yeah, again, really not really noticeable tonight. And maybe that's what's it. Maybe that's exactly it, right? Like this is a guy that he lights it up in the AHL, he lights it up in the preseason. He has that missile of a shot seemingly, but and he's a gritty player and he's got some size. But there's always that weird reason. It's like, why isn't he up here? So maybe he just doesn't do well against NHL competition. But we will see in the coming days, because this will be, he's going to have an opportunity here. Stan McCune, I noticed PK1 at least in the third were all guys that they didn't have before last season. Yeah, again, these these new acquisitions are proving to be better than I think most of us anticipated. We all kind of looked at it and we were like, "Oh, pretty underwhelming offseason. Like, what was that? We wanted one of those big splashes. Where's the top six winger? Where's Jason Robertson? Where are all these big name acquisitions that Fitzgerald has been known to get in the past?" And yet here are all these guys that he gets this offseason, and they're all doing pretty well. So we will see. Andrew I, that fourth line was practically invisible. I guess that's not necessarily a terrible thing as long as they're not conceding goals, but I would like to be better. Agreed, man. Everybody wants, to have that kind of fourth line production that the Devils had, were able to, have in 22-23, and that really makes them boom. But, we'll see. I think that this fourth line is definitely a work in progress. I mean, that's evidenced by the fact that Luke Clendenning was a PTO. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you have to work with. Let's see, Benjamin Resch almost caught up on all the chats here, which is good. I think. Hopefully, I'm not skipping over anyone. If I skipped over anyone, comment again, okay? Because I'm hopefully getting caught up here. Cranman, appreciate the shout outs. I appreciate you for supporting us, Cranman. So thank you for tuning in. Benjamin Resch, with all the D men on the team in the pipeline, could you see a player like Seamus Casey convert to the wing? I'll hang up and listen. Okay, great stuff. I have been on the Seamus Casey wing train for years. I even asked him about it, I think, a couple of years ago. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I look, I've talked about this with reporters. I've talked about this with people across the building. My tinfoil hat is on. The Devils have a lot of assets stockpiled right now, right? Like, why is that? Why do they have such a big logjam on the right side of their defense? What's the purpose? Why wouldn't you, push the chips in and try, where is the spot for Seamus Casey in the future? Because it seems like on that right side, it's all pretty much set in stone, right? Um, so my theory is that, I think Seamus Casey, I think is a really good player. I think he might end up being trade bait, because and that might be, why are the Devils keeping all of these trade chips? Why are they keeping all of this, all this capital, all this, good young players they have? Might be the Queen trade. That's my big theory, and I think that I've heard Greg Wyszynski of ESPN say the same thing. So there's something about us, last names with ski in it that has that theory. But I think the Devils are potentially wanting to push all the chips in there for Quinn Hughes, if it gets to that point at the trade deadline this year or whenever that may be. Cam Healy, Paul Cotter forecheck looking a lot stronger than it did around the end of last season. Yeah, look, he is. I've always, that was always a guy that I think, if when they acquired him from Vegas, he could be a potential boom candidate. He's got some skill too. He's got some underrated skill, but his size, he needs to be one of those aggressive players. With him on the forecheck being so strong, I said it last stream. There's no reason that these Devils can't play a game, not even a physical game, but a relentless, tough game like the Carolina Hurricanes do. And I think the Devils have an even better scoring touch than the Hurricanes do. So I'm intrigued to see. I think the forecheck has looked really good so far through 3 games. You saw it in spurts against the Lightning too, especially in that first period. He was pretty strong. So and I'll shout out, as Gerald York says there in the comments right now. Cotter has all the tools he needs to put it together. Agreed. Yeah, that's the to put a bow in the Cotter talk. That's exactly what it is. Let's see. Riot and respect. This is the last couple questions we're going to take here. Marchenko has been a beast to start the season. I was worried after his goal we beat Minnesota Part 2. He's on my fantasy team, so the one goal wasn't the worst for me, but glad it ended there. Oh man, if the Devils can get him, that would be really good. That would be a really good fit for them. But I don't know. I think did he extend or something? I can't remember. I just remember him always being kind of on the trade list. Okay, no, 3 years. So he's on year 2 of 3. So if Columbus, if things with Columbus go south this year, maybe then we could see something there. But I think he'd be a nice little fit for the Devils as well. So we will see. All right, Scooby Snacks. Thompson says, when does Knowles get the OK State job? When does Knowles get the OK State head coach job? I would love. I covered Jim Knowles when he was at Oklahoma State. I thought he was a really fun person to cover. Penn State is a disaster right now. So I don't. I asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have said, "Oh my gosh, if we got Jim Knowles somehow, that would be amazing." But right now, I'm not really sure. And I just saw that Zach Robinson's Falcons. I just got the alert that Zach Robinson's Falcons beat up the Buffalo Bills tonight. So maybe they can, poach him, and that would be a really good hire too. An OK State grad. But enough OK State talk because you guys could not care in the slightest, and we're actually losing viewers right now. Um, let's see, Damien, love your work all the way from Australia. Thank you, Damien. I appreciate that. What's going on? How did you become a Devils fan in Australia? You should tell your origin story in the comment section below. That's a really fun story, man. Cran man, what time? Yeah, and yes, what time is it in there in Australia? Um, let's see. Okay, we are all caught up on comments. I just want to. I think I'll just finish off unless you guys have any more questions with um, just some of my last notes here. I I think that look, the conversation around the goalies right now is obviously going to be about the injuries. Like we don't know what's going on with Jacob Markstrom. There's no latest there. And we'll kind of see, in the coming days what ends up being in that. The Devils are off tomorrow. We'll get more of an update on Wednesday. I'll see, and I'll work the phones tomorrow, see if we can get any sort of other update on that. But the conversation is going to be about the injuries. But let's talk about once they're back from these injuries, if they're not bad, right? Jake Allen is really good, and I said coming into this year that I thought that the goalie position was going to be a sneaky, underrated kind of position battle. And I think that, whether it ends up being a split but if the playoffs started today, which they absolutely do not, and both goalies were healthy, I don't see how you couldn't give the nod to Jake Allen. I just think he's he's been an awesome player ever since the Devils got him from Montreal a couple deadlines ago. His numbers were really impressive last year. My biggest deep dive, my biggest like head scratching moment last year was like I looked at the numbers and the big goalie saved him. The big goalie metric to me is goal save above expected, right? It's the you save more goals than than you're expected to, right? Like the expected goals say that, oh, that should have been a dang goal, and the goalie still stops it. Allen ranked ninth in that category last season. I think it was 18.4. Markstrom was ranked 33rd. Not bad, and he's still up there with some, and his metrics were good. He's still in the positive in that category, which is good because in the days of like Blackwood and VTech, like those were always like in the negatives, and they would be in the freaking basement of that. Allen was superb though. Like he's up there with Hellebuck. He's up there with the best names in the league that you see. So I'm curious to see when both goalies are healthy, if they're both healthy, and knock on wood that they are. I'm curious to see what that battle looks like, to see if there's anything there. Because I thought it would be sneaky kind of battle coming in. And through these first couple of games, I mean, let's just face it. I mean, Allen looked more ready than Markstrom coming into the season. Markstrom had a really strong, first couple periods in Carolina, and then it just went to hell from there. And then last game, and I think he was definitely shaky. And um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with these goalies, but it's just something I'm keeping an eye on. And Duck Gusev caps it off by saying Allen will definitely challenge Markey this year. Yeah, and the question too becomes what's going to become of that contract, because as Jin 4576 mentions, that Allen signing is looking like a total steal now, and I agree. And do you need to extend Markstrom? You wait it out. You wait it out. And I think that's where we'll end the topic here. We will have all the updates on all these injured Devils in the next couple of days, and I'll ask Keith for updates on these other injured Devils as well. And there's a whole heck of a lot of them. But the Devils gonna win. They're 2-1-0. Okay, they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight, 3-2, and you get a lot of goals from a lot of people that you wanted to do well. So let's wrap it up there. For Speaking of the Devils, I'm Ryan Novozinsky. Be sure to like and subscribe and share our link everywhere. And we cannot wait to bring you the live stream after the Devils take on the Florida Panthers at their home opener on Thursday night. We'll be coming to you shortly after the press conferences, because obviously we'll be at that game. but we cannot wait to see you there. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Have a good day.